Hello everyone. Let's discuss the second part of plasma volume expanders. In the earlier part, we have discussed the major plasma volume expanders as the colloidal expanders. In that, we have discussed the human albumin and the dextrons. And next, in this video, we will discuss the remaining colloids which are used as the plasma volume expanders, and then we will discuss some crystalloids as plasma volume expanders. So the third one is as a plasma volume expander is a degraded gelatin polymer, that's also called as polygenine. Okay, so basically this is a synthetic polymer with the molecular weight 30 tau, and this specially it will not interfere with the blood grouping and cross matching, and it is also non-antigenic, no antigen antibody reaction, so it may not cause the anaphylactic shock or the hypersensitive reactions. So the important factor about this is that it will not interfere with the blood grouping and the cross matching. And the volume expansion time for this one is around 12 hours, and comparatively compared to dextron, this is more expensive, and it can also be used for priming of the heart, lung and dialysis machines. Okay, other than plasma volume expanding, it is also used the primary most widely it is used as for the priming of heart, lung and dialysis machines. And the major brands of this particular polygenine is Himacil and Seracel 500 ml vaccines. It's available in these two brands. The next one is the hydroxyethyl starch, that is HES, hydroxyethyl starch, also called as HETA starch. Okay, basically HETA starch, it is a complex mixture of ethoxylated it's a mixture of ethoxylated amylopectin. Okay, and this amylopectin, that is like a water soluble polysaccharide, it is actually, which has got a highly branched alpha glucose units in them, which is extracted, which is found in the plant. So it has got a various like molecular sizes, which the average of all this is around 4.5 lakhs. Okay, so basically it's a amylopectin, and it maintains blood volume for a longer duration of period comparatively, and it doesn't cause acute renal failure or coagulation disturbances, and it improves hemodynamic status for 24 hours. Okay, like the earlier one what we discussed is that increases for 12 hours, and here it increases the hemodynamic status for 24 hours. Comparatively, it has got a longer duration of action. It stays for longer time, and then it do not cause the renal failure or the coagulation disturbances. Then the major adverse effects of this are it may cause vomiting, mild fever, itching, chills, flu-like symptoms, swelling of salivary glands, and urticaria, that's the skin rash, which is caused maybe due to the medicines or whatever. Then the bronchospasm, etc. All these things, side effects it may cause, and the brand it is Expand 6% injection, 100 to 500 ml of vaccine. You will get the injection of 6% injection, that's a Expand. It has also been used to improve harvesting of granulocytes, because it increases the erythrocyte sedimentation. Because it increases the erythrocyte sedimentation, it is used to harvest the granulocytes. Okay, to isolate the granulocytes it is used. And the adverse effects are like of this brand particularly, it may cause anaphylactic reactions, mild fever, chilling, periorbital edema, urticaria and itch. And the next one, the fifth one, polyvinyl pyrrolidine, that is PVP. Basically, it is a synthetic polymer of average molecular weight around 40,000 to 40,000, and it is used as a 3.5% solution. This PVP usually is used as a plasma expander for trauma patients. Since 1950, it is being used especially to treat the trauma victims. Okay, either mentally, physically traumatic patients, this PVP is preferred one, and it usually interferes with blood grouping and cross matching, and it may enhance the release of histamine. Okay, that may again cause the histamine release, may cause again the inflammation or allergies or all these things. So this is the disadvantage, that it interferes with blood crossing also, cross matching also, blood grouping also, and it may increase the release of histamine also. And it also binds to some drugs like penicillin and insulin. That's why these two drugs should not be given when you are using PVP as a plasma volume expander. And it is usually excreted by the kidney, and small amount of this usually remain excreted through in the liver into the bile, and the fraction of it is stored in reticuloendothelium cells for longer period of time. Okay, some part of it is excreted through kidney, and some of it is excreted through liver, through the bile, and fraction of this is for a longer period of time it is being stored into the reticuloendothelial system. Okay, it is commonly used. It's a commonly used plasma expander compared to all other four what we discussed earlier. Compared to all of them, it is commonly it's a less commonly used plasma volume expander, and this is a sample of this PVP. This PVP is also used in personal care products other than plasma volume expanders, that is in vivo use. Other than that, in vitro items like in the shampoos, toothpaste, hairsprays, and gels also it is being used, and it is used as a binder. Especially, it is used as a binder in many pharmaceutical tablet preparations. Okay, and then this you must be knowing the disinfectant that we use as a blue color one, that is the betadine or the pyodine. So in the preparation of this betadine and pyodine, this PVP is added, which forms a complex called as povidone. Okay, so this iodine that possesses this disinfectant activity, and it is used under the brand names at betadine and pyodine. Coming to the major adverse effects of all these synthetic colloids, okay, whatever the synthetic colloids, dextron or whatever, so all these, the major adverse effects that they may cause is that coagulation. They basically they interfere with the coagulation process at the, because they are diluting the blood. They are diluting blood. That's why the proteins and the cells that are present in our blood, they are getting diluted. So there will be a disturbance in the function of the cells or the platelets that are present in the blood. So majorly it may cause the coagulopathy and renal failure, because it is increasing the volume of the fluid volume is increased. So kidney has to filter all that. So increased volume may lead to the renal failure. It may cause the circulatory or hepatic complications. Okay, where all the volume is increased, it may cause edema and some complications of circulatory, hepatic, and renal. It may cause major adverse effects of this is that. So the volume distribution with this all these fluids means actually whatever the volume we are losing, it's better if we replace it with the fresh blood. Okay, if the fresh blood is not available, and if you are using any of these plasma volume expanders, for a longer period, the major thing what they do is that they causes the dilution of the cellular and the protein hemostatic components, the components which maintain the hemostasis. So they'll be disturbing that. So this occurs for anticoagulation disturbances. So whenever you will be administering these plasma volume expanders, the most important thing is that you should be TEG assessment should be monitored continuously. That is a thromboelastogram. I'm sorry. Thromboelastogram test should be done, that assess the strength of the clot or the strength of the platelet aggregation, fibrin clot which is formed. So to assess that strength, you need to monitor the TEGs, because there is a dilution of the coagulation factors or the proteins or the cells which are present in the blood, that may cause the dilution of a special important coagulation factor, that is the antithrombin 3. So you need to monitor TEG levels, which may alter because of the longer duration, this plasma volume expansion with these expanders. Okay, and the next one is hemodilution. That is hemodilution as a result of albumin infusion. If you give albumin as an infusion, so that may cause a hemodilution, which will lead to the in vitro coagulation abnormalities of up to 30% volume replacement, but it is not considered as a very clinically significant effect. Okay, so 30% of volume replacement may cause the hemodilution, which may lead to the in vitro coagulation, but it's not clinically significant. The most significant, the first three things that I have mentioned. Then the continued adverse effects, that is the gelatin has induced post-operative hypercoagulation following joint replacement surgery and results in decreased TEG measured clot strength. So it may lead to the it will cause a coagulation, but the clot strength will be reduced. Okay, gelatin induced post-operative hypercoagulation, which will follow the joint replacement surgery, and this will result in a reduced clot strength. Important. It also impairs the platelet aggregation. Okay, platelet aggregation is impaired, and normal in normal, that is in the after surgery, what that happens, where the clot strength is reduced, and in normal individuals also it may reduce the platelet aggregation strength. Okay, and the dextron especially, and the dextron and the HEAS molecules, that is the HETA starch, they exert an effect on both primary hemostasis and the coagulation cascade. Okay, primary hemostasis, that is as soon as you have a cut or a injury, the initial clot that forms as the primary hemostasis, and then that is followed by the cascade of events through the different coagulation factors, that the coagulation through a drop, and both the things will will be affected by this dextron and HES molecules. So they especially interfere with the factor 8, and that is own Willebrand factor. Thus they inhibit or they interfere with the addition of these platelets to the collagen, and then the aggregation of these platelets will be hindered, which is higher than predicted through the dilution. Okay. So the incidence of acute renal failure is more associated with dextron and HES. It's been more observed that dextron and HES will cause more incidence of renal failures. Now that's all about the colloidal plasma volume expanders that we discussed. Now the next one, crystalloids. So we will discuss crystalloids, as the name itself indicates, crystalloids. It resemble like crystals. Okay. So in this, especially the electrolyte solutions with small molecules. Here, it is a water soluble. Small molecules are freely throughout the extracellular space. Especially they are used to replace the extracellular fluid or the interstitial fluid and the intracellular fluid, whereas the colloids with the larger molecules which are not soluble, which will not come out of the intracellular space easily, so they are preferred to increase the intracellular volume, whereas the crystalloids with a smaller molecular size and water soluble may cross both the compartment, intracellular and extracellular. So usually they are preferred for the extracellular space as well. And relatively, they have a low tendency to stay in intravascular, as I told you just now. And the principal component is all these crystalloids is the sodium chloride. The most preferred that like normal saline would be used to replace the loss of fluids. That is, sodium chloride is the major component of all these crystalloids that we use as a plasma volume expanders. 75 to 80% of infused crystalloid is distributed in interstitial space. Okay, that is in between the cells it is distributed, not into the cell. That is not intracellularly. It is maximum 80% of this crystalloids of the normal cell line. It is distributed in between the cells, that is in the interstitial space it is distributed. And the volume resuscitation with the crystalloid fluids expand interstitial volume rather than the plasma volume. So these crystalloids is they will again it is the same, that is it is increasing more of the interstitial space or the volume rather than the plasma volume. Okay, example for these type of crystalloids is isotonic saline and lactated ringer solution, etc. So the especially mentioning normal saline or the isotonic solution because it should not be hypotonic and hypertonic also. It should be isotonic, so that that is more preferred compared to hypotonic saline or the hypertonic saline commonly. Okay. So there are three types of crystalloids. That's what one is isotonic, and the other one is hypotonic, and the third one is hypertonic solutions. Okay. So the isotonic solutions, when the concentration of the particles or the solutes which are present are similar to that of the plasma. Okay. In the plasma, whatever the solutes are present and the solution that you are giving as a plasma volume expander, both will have both the solutes in them, the particles in them will have the same size. Okay, so they do not move from one place to another place, and they remain same and within the extracellular compartment. Thus they increase the intravascular volume rather than cellular volume. Okay, intravascular volume is increased by this. So the most common example for this, the one which we use regularly, that is the 0.9% sodium chloride, that is 9 gram of sodium chloride in 1000 ml of water. Okay, and the other one is Ringer's lactate, and the third one is 5% dextrose in water. Okay, and the hypotonic solutions, where hypo itself indicates that compared to intracellular fluid, these hypotonic solutions will have a lower concentration of solutes. Okay, the electrolytes or the particles which are present, they are of a lower concentration. So these solutions will hydrate the cells, and although their use will deplete the fluid with the circulatory system. Okay. So the example for hypotonic solutions is 0.5% sodium chloride, 0.33% sodium chloride, 0.2% sodium chloride, and 0.25 dextrose in water. So in isotonic crystalloids, you have used 5% dextrose in water and a 0.9% sodium chloride, whereas you are using lower concentration of sodium chloride and half of the dextrose in water, that is 2.5% of dextrose in water as a hypotonic solution you are using. And the third one is hypertonic solutions. These solutions obviously will have the higher tonicity or the higher solute concentrations compared to that of the intracellular solutes. Okay, so what they will do now, because the concentration is higher extracellularly, they'll draw the water from the intracellular space, which will increase the extracellular fluid volume. As we all know that always there is a movement of this water or the solvent from lower concentration to higher concentration. So if it is isotonic, both the side solutes are same, so there won't be any exchange and it maintains the extracellular volume comparatively. In hypotonic solution, if the concentration is lower here, so it may enter into the cell, which will hydrate the cell. So so whatever the plasma volume expander you are using with hypotonic solution, it will enter into the cell, which will increase the intracellular fluid volume, which will hydrate the cells. The hypertonic solutions, wherein the concentration of solutes outside the cell is more, so it draws the water from the cell and it increases the extracellular space more. Okay, fluid volume is increased. So they are called as the extracellular fluid expander specially. And the example for hypertonic solutions is that 3% sodium chloride or 5% of dextrose in normal saline. In the isotonic saline, that is the normal saline, that's the typical 1.9% sodium chloride, and usually, as I mentioned, 9 grams of sodium chloride in 1 liter of water. Okay, it is called as a normal saline solution because the percentage of sodium chloride in the solution is approximately same as that of the concentration present in the extravascular space. That's why it is normal saline. The concentration of sodium chloride you are giving is same as that of the usually present in the intravascular spaces. Okay, the osmolarity of this isotonic saline is 308 per liter. Now, when can you give this normal saline, especially? Okay, so this will be given to treat the low extracellular, if the extracellular fluid concentration is less, to replace that, to increase that, especially during the hemorrhage or severe vomiting, diarrhea, and heavy drainage from the gastrointestinal suction. Due to the gastrointestinal suction, if there is a heavy drainage, then in that case, to increase the extracellular fluid volume, this will be given. And also during the shock, mild hyponatremia, and if the sodium concentration is less mildly, then the this normal saline is given to increase the sodium concentration. And it is also used for the metabolic acidosis, okay, such as diabetic ketoacidosis. And it is the fluid of choice in the resuscitation efforts, okay, and it is the only fluid used with administration of blood products, okay. The remaining other products usually are not preferred to be given along with the blood products, but this is the one which you can use for the administration along with the blood products, okay. And the major disadvantages of this is that it may cause the metabolic acidosis due to the higher chloride concentration, that is the hyperchloremic acidosis, okay. Because sodium and chloride, these are the two things you are giving, so it may increase the chlorine concentration or the chloride concentration, which may lead to the metabolic acidosis, okay. And then intraoperative infusion of this isotonic solution at the rate of 30 ml per kg per hour may cause a drop in serum pH, okay. So altogether it is reducing the pH level, serum pH, from 7.41 to 7.28 after 2 hours of administration, okay. Per hour you are giving 30 ml per kg, so after 2 hours of administration of this, it may cause the it may reduce the serum pH, which may cause the acidosis. Then the next one, Ringer lactate solution, that is the Hartmann solution. It's also called as Ringer lactate solution. So the majorly in Ringer lactate solution, what you have is the potassium and calcium concentration will be appropriate or more compared to in normal saline you have sodium and chloride, and in Ringer lactate solution, especially the potassium and calcium will be present, and sodium concentration is reduced for the electrical neutrality, okay. To have a neutrality, the sodium concentration is reduced in this, whereas the potassium and calcium concentration is higher here. So the lactate addition in this solution especially is required to reduce the chloride concentration, which is close approximation of the plasma chloride concentration. So to reduce the plasma chloride concentration, so lactate may be added in this particular solution, okay. So there is a risk of hyperchloremic acidosis with large volume of infusion of Ringer lactate is eliminated. So by administering this Ringer lactate solution, you are reducing the risk of hyperchloremic acidosis. So where you are observed in the earlier case, which is causing the hyperchloremic acidosis, that is because it is increasing the concentration of chlorides. Okay, because you are adding lactate in this, lactate is reducing the concentration of chlorides. That's the reason Ringer lactate solution will have the less risk of hyperchloremic acidosis, okay, and it is contraindicated as diluents for blood transfusions, okay. Then the uses of this is the most physiologically adapted fluid, this one, because it has got a electrolyte content is most closely related to the composition of the body's blood serum and plasma. This is more widely preferred physiological plasma volume expander, because the electrolytes it is balancing more closely related to that of the blood serum, okay, because it has got potassium, calcium as well. That's why this is more preferred comparatively. And it is another choice for the first line fluid resuscitation for certain patients like those with a burn injury, especially the patients with the burn injuries it is used. Remember, Ringer lactate is used as a plasma volume expander in the burn injury patients more preferably, okay. And when to be used? This is to be used to replace the gastrointestinal tract fluid losses, like when it happens during the diarrhea and vomiting. And for the fluid losses due to the burns and trauma, just now I said, and the patients experience which experience the acute blood loss or the hypovolemia. Okay. Coming to the disadvantages of this is that the calcium in ringer lactate solution can bind with certain drugs and it may inactivate or reduce the effectiveness of those drugs. Okay, so you'll have to be conscious while giving when you are co-administering any other drug along with ringer lactate solution, because the calcium in the ringer lactate solution may bind or inactivate bind with some of the co-administered drugs, and it may cause the ineffectiveness of that particular drug. And the drugs which are not to be given with ringer lactate solution especially are aminocaproic acid, amphotericin, and ampicillin and thiopentone. So these are the four things which you should not administer with ringer lactate solutions. And ringer lactate solution is metabolized in liver, which converts the lactate to bicarbonate. Okay, lactic acid is converted to bicarbonate and it is metabolized through the liver. And this RN is administered to patients who have got the metabolic acidosis and not patients with lactic acidosis. Okay, because it has lactate in them and it is converting lactic acid to bicarbonate during the metabolism in the liver. It should be administered to patients with the metabolic acidosis. Okay, like chloride acidosis, what we said, but not in the patients with a lactic acidosis. Okay, and it should not be given to patients with liver diseases, and they will not be they can't metabolize lactate. Okay, if the liver function problem is there, because the RL is metabolized in the liver and it is converting lactic acid to bicarbonates. If a patient is already suffering with the liver disorder, then he may hinder the metabolizing of this RL. Okay. Now coming to the next one, that is the D5W, that is the 5% of dextrose in water. That is 1 gram dextrose is equal to 3.4 kilocalorie. That is 50 grams in 170 kilocalorie per liter. So it's especially this dextrose, as we all know, that it's a sugar molecule which will only increase the calories, especially which will not have any electrolytes in them. Okay, especially it's a sugar solution, almost it's giving energy, instant energy it is giving, it's increasing the calories, but on long term it will not have the strength or it will not supply any of the electrolytes. Okay, so the osmolarity of this 5% dextrose is that 252 per liter, and it is considered as isotonic solution. But when the dextrose is metabolized, the solution actually becomes hypotonic and it causes fluid to shift into the cells. Okay, so initially when you give this, it is an isotonic one, but after metabolization it becomes hypotonic and causes the fluid to shift into the cells. Okay, and less than 10% of it should be infused volume of dextrose remains intravascularly. Okay, 2/3 of infused volume of this dextrose water ends up inside the cells. Okay, 2/3 of it will be present within the cells, and the predominant effect is cellular swelling. So ultimately, the more and more if you give, what it may do is that it may cause the cellular swelling. Okay, how basically this works? Okay, this provides free water that passes through the membrane because the particle size is less here, so usually it is water soluble, and this provides the movement of this solutes from through the membrane. Okay, so because it is the movement of this is free water passes through the membrane, both the compartments. That's why it is used to expand both the compartments volume. That is, it's expanding intracellularly also, extracellular compartment also. Simultaneously, it is increasing the volume. Okay, it basically provides around 170 calories per liter, but it does not replace the electrolytes. It's giving you the calories of 170 per liter, but it is not replacing the electrolytes, as it do not have any electrolytes in them. Okay, the supplied calories doesn't provide enough nutrition for longer period of time. As I told you, it will give you a instant energy, but this expansion will not give you electrolytes also and no nutrition for a longer period of time. And a major use of this may be to treat hypernatremia and hypoglycemia, because hypernatremia because it will not have any sodium chloride or potassium and calcium, because that's the reason when you give this, it will dilute the existing sodium and it may reduce the concentration of sodium. And as it is a sugar solution, during the hypoglycemia, it will increase the sugar level also. Okay. Now coming to the disadvantages of this, the major disadvantage of this is it is not good for patients with renal failure, cardiac problems, because it may cause the fluid expansion, as it causes the fluid expansion that gives more load to the kidneys. Okay, so that may lead, that may further worsen the condition of the renal failure patients, and because of the edema, it may cause into the heart, which may lead to the further complications. So it should be avoided in patients with cardiac problems and the renal failure patients. Okay, and the patients usually are at high risk for intracranial pressure. Okay, patients at because even in the brain also it is increasing the volume, which may lead to the increased volume may again create intracranial pressure. So it may increase cerebral edema, because of that, you should not give to the patients with the risk of intravascular pressure, higher intravascular pressure, and it should not be used in isolation with because it is not supplying the electrolyte. So to electrolyte isolation is not possible, and it is diluting more the existing electrolyte. So you'll have to use it carefully, and never mix dextrose with blood, as it causes the blood to hemolyze. So the other one, just we discussed, you can give along with the blood products, but dextrose you should not give with the blood products, because it is causing the breaking down of RBCs. It may cause. So it should not be used for the resuscitation, because the solution won't remain in the intravascular space itself. So if you use it for the resuscitation, so the main problem is that this dextrose is as if free flow of this water from intravascular to extravascular. So as it won't remain into the cell itself, that's why you cannot use it in emergency also. These are the few disadvantages of this dextrose, 5% dextrose. Some of the references for this particular is that Rangandale and Craig and KD Tripathi most preferred books for the reference of this. Thanks for watching Plasma Volume Expanders. Thank you.